this is in the way. We're going to go to ricktraining.com, and it's going to look like this right now. Right, this is on the this part is on the first page of let's go back to Rick Training, the beginning. I'll walk you through this real quick so nobody gets lost. Okay, so ricktraining.com is going to have a place up here where it says Texas Agent Crash Course up at the top, navigational pane. And then we're going to go tonight, we're going to be on session 5. Okay, I'm going to go to session 1 real quick, because under session 1, there's a drop down that has business planning and scripts. And I'm going to open up the scripts real quick. And I'm going to start off where I kind of left off last night, because we didn't get to the point. We ran out of time really to jump into the finish off. What I usually finish off last night's session with is, we had our scripts, but we also needed to talk a little bit about overcoming objections. We talked about overcoming fear. We talked about everything we needed to know, that it's not that hard as long as we will just do it. Nobody likes doing it. But you guys, please forgive me. My voice is ready for the weekend. So needless to say, my solo is out this weekend with the choir, so I won't be able to do that. So here is the expired script we talked about. So I'm going to jump off from here, and the script is great. If you know what to say and you say it the right way and you do it, if you can get through the script, like we said last night, when you're talking to an expired, you're probably going to get in at least a 50-50 chance of getting an appointment, because that's what it does. And the better you get at it, the more chance you get of getting that appointment. And that's what it's all about. So tonight we're going to start off at the point, really our presentation is going to be from where you get the appointment to how you get the listing. Okay. But we're going to go ahead and go through a couple of things, because when you read the script, I'm going to just use the expired script for the example, but it's pretty much the same with everyone you talk to. You get to be the one in control, right? If you don't control the process, then what's going to happen? The seller, or excuse me, the prospect on the other side is going to control you. So we have to fix that through scripts. So that's why we have scripts. We know what to say. We know what why did we say what we say. We say, the reason I'm calling, I noticed your listing expired today. I'd like to apply for the job of getting it sold for you. And you sit there and you wait for them to say something. We know they're going to say something, because they can't help themselves. They're going to have to tell you all the reasons, either why they don't like you, they don't like your family, they think they're awful, you suck, and all those other good things, or why realtors are terrible, or why they're going to put their house back on the market, or why they're going to use another agent. There's only a few things. They think they're being very original, but really, we know there's only a few things they're going to say, and we're going to be ready for them, right? Because the reason you're going to get the appointment where other people will not, they'll be called by 20, 30, 40 other people, who knows? But it doesn't matter if one called them or if 100 call them, because they're all going to get off track. Buyers and sellers, let's just say prospects in general, are masters at getting people off track. And you do it all the time. You go to a department store and someone comes up to you and says, hey, they start talking to you about what you're looking at, and they say, can I help you with anything? And you say, no, I'm just looking. And then they go away, and then you leave with a bag full of stuff. That's basically throwing them off track, getting them away from you and blowing them off so you can shop on your own, right? We've done that time and time again. I'm just looking. I'm not really interested. We say those things. We're programmed to say that. The ones that are good are the ones who come back and are able to overcome those objections or those stalls or those blow-offs, and then ask for the appointment anyway. So what's going to make you stand out is being able to continue with your script and ask for the appointment. So this script ends up with, there are 3 reasons a home will sit on the market this long and not sell. If it's priced right and in good condition, it must be that it needs better marketing. And I have a super aggressive marketing plan I'd like to share with you at your convenience. Of course, I know you want to get your home back on the market as soon as possible, so I can arrange to meet with you today at 5 or at 6, whichever works better for you. And then hopefully get an appointment, or they'll say something. So the end of this script, it says handling objections and stay on track. That is really the advice, right? You handle objections and stay on track. The ones who stay on track wins, right? You control the conversation with either questions or objection handlers. A sale is made on every call. If you ever seen a movie called Boiler Room, they use this quote: "A sale is made on every call you make." Either either you sell the client on an appointment, or he sells you on a reason he can't. Either way, a sale is made, and 99% of the time, the client on the other side wins, because the person making that phone call, like we would be doing, we haven't practiced, we're not ready, and we're scared because we're easily spooked because we don't know what to say next. How do you control the conversation? You expect every response. We know what's going to happen before it happens, and when you know what's going to happen before it happens, it's easy. Have you ever seen Groundhog Day? By the end of the movie, he's ducking and weaving, and nothing is bothering. He knows what's going to happen before it happens. And I know what's going to happen before it happens with every call I get on, and so are you. After you've made 100 calls or talked to 100 people, tried to get an appointment, you'll realize that it starts becoming very repetitious in what they're saying. Again, they think they're being original, but we know there's only a few things that they could say to get rid of us. And so that's why I memorize responses, to gain control of the process. We're going to stay on track. Okay, don't forget, use the scripts. Don't try to wing it, because you're not nearly as good as winging it as you think you are. You're not effective without the right words, okay? The reason people have a bad time with prospecting is because they don't use the right words and they don't practice. We always expect objections. Don't be surprised when they don't say yes. We're expecting the no. We're always expecting a no or an objection. The scripts are going to get us 50% of the way there, and the objection handlers are going to close the door behind us. So this is what we're going to do. There's 3 scripts, very simple scripts or objection handlers, that you really need to learn and incorporate into your daily vernacular. When is a good time? This is the alternative choice close, right? You never ask, hey, can I come over? Is it all right? Are you free on Wednesday? Are you free on Saturday? I think I could make it on Monday. Is that okay with you? Because the answer is always going to be no, or there's always going to be an excuse. You give them an alternative choice. You say, would 5 or 6 be better? I can meet with you today or tomorrow. Which one is better? That's the way we do it. Today at 5, or would 6 be better? That way you're giving them a choice. They can't say no. They have to think about it. And then every time they have to think about it, you're throwing them off their game. And that's the idea of you're taking control. They think they know where you're going. And then you say, well, I can meet with you today or at 5 or at 6. Which one will be better? And then they have to think for a second. They go, no, I don't even want to meet with you. And then you can come back with another objection handler. But alternative choice, you always set an appointment with this question. This is something you need to remember and to say. Ask yourself in the mirror, look in the mirror, ask your kids, whoever you can practice with, are you familiar with the techniques I use to sell homes? And then whatever they say, oh, you're kidding. When's a good time for me to show you? Today at 5, or would 6 be better? So we go from, are you familiar with the techniques I use to sell homes? This is where I told you about my school teacher last night that overcome her fear. She laughed at this line every time because she thought, of course they don't know the techniques I use. Well, of course, that's the idea. We want them to say no. We don't even know who you are. And so we're taking control back, because that's a weird question to ask somebody that you've never met. Are you familiar with the techniques I use to sell homes? No, of course not. Well, oh, you're kidding. When's a good time for me to show you? Today at 5, or would 6 be better? Or today at 4, would later in the evening be better? So that's what we do. We ask, this is the are you familiar close. We go from alternative choice and are you familiar? And if I could, would you close? Let me ask you this. If I could sell your home in 30 days or less, or if I could sell your home in 2 weeks or less, would that cause any problems for you? Whatever you want to say. 30 days is pretty good for somebody whose house has been sitting on the market. In this market, the house should sell in a couple of days. We know that. So if I tell them, let me ask you, if I sold your home in 30 days or less, would that cause any problems? They're going to stop. They're going to think. They're going to say, you think you could do that? The other guy couldn't sell it. Well, I don't know. I haven't seen your home yet. When's a good time for us to get together and talk about it? Today at 5, or would 6 be better? So you use these 3 in succession, and every different time. There's 3 scripts that you should commit to memory. If you don't, there's some other ones going in here, but these are 3 closes that you can use in different order to try to get on track. When they try to throw you off track in your script, you can ask one of these questions like, are you familiar with the techniques I use? When they're talking about how awful other real estate agents are, It doesn't matter to you because you don't say, oh, well, that's not like me. I don't do that, blah, blah, blah. What you say is, well, let me ask you, are you familiar with the techniques I use? And they have to stop and think about it. And then they say no. And then you say, oh, you're kidding. When's a good time for me to show you, today at 5 or at 6? And then, of course, when you just can't get anywhere with them and they're going on and on about why they don't want to use you, or they're not interested or whatever, you say, well, let me ask you this. If I sold your home in 30 days or less, or I could get your home sold in less than 30 days, would that cause any problems for you? And the way you word that, they have to stop and think, and they say, well, they're not usually going to say no. They're usually going to say, I don't know if you could do that. You can't do that, or whatever. You say, well, I don't know. My track record is pretty good, and sometimes quite better than that. I haven't seen your home yet, so I don't know if I'm even going to list it. Something like that. So those are things that we're going to use in conjunction with all of these other excuses that people give us, right? We're on a roll with a script, and we're trying to get in. I wanted to apply for the job of getting your home sold for you. I'm not interested. Okay, great, fantastic. So you're not interested in selling your home, or you're not interested in me? And then you just be quiet. Every time you ask one of these things, you have to be quiet and let them answer you, right? Because in this case, what are they going to say? They're obviously interested in selling their home, but they're just not interested in you, but they don't want to be that rude. Now, some people might say, well, probably both. Well, I know that there's only 3 reasons a home will sit on the market this long and not sell. If it's priced right in good condition, it must be that it needs better marketing. So this gets you right back on your script. I'm not interested. Let me ask you, you're not interested in selling your home, or not interested in me? Wait for the answer. Whatever they say, go right back to your script. Wherever your script is, you go right back to it. If you need to say one more thing, there's a couple of other things that we're going to learn. You can bring it right back to, are you familiar with the techniques I use to sell homes? Oh my goodness, that you're kidding. When's a good time for me to show you? Those type of things they'll start to flow when you use them regularly, right? Now, I don't expect you to do these right away, and we're going to run through these things real quick so we can get to our presentation. But I wanted to get these to you because you want to start practicing them. You want to start practicing so you can get an appointment with anybody, right? So number one, I'm not interested. I'm going to relist with the same agent. And then you say, okay, fantastic. Well, I'm wondering why, knowing your home hasn't sold, why would you make the same mistake twice? How much longer do you want your home to wait to sell? Another 3, 4, 6 months longer? And then you wait and see what he says. Well, no. Are you familiar with the techniques I use to sell homes? No. Well, you're kidding. When's a good time for me to show you? Today at 5 or at 6? Well, my brother's a realtor. My cousin's a realtor. My niece is a realtor. They just got their real estate license, and I promised I would let them list my house. Okay, great. Well, are you interested in getting your home sold, or are you just doing your brother a favor? Oh, well, probably both. Oh, are you familiar with the techniques I use to sell homes? Oh, you're kidding. When's a good time for me to show you? Today at 5 or at 6? I'm just going to take it off the market. I'm just done. Oh, interesting. I know a lot of sellers get frustrated and just throw in the towel. Isn't it true that you would still like to sell your home? You're just really frustrated with the process? Yeah, we're just really frustrated. Well, I know there's only 3 reasons a house will sit on the market this long and not sell. If it's priced right in good condition, it must be that needs better marketing, and you get right back on track. You're the 20th agent who's called me today. You're the 40th agent. You're the 100,000th agent who's called me today. Boom, boom, boom. But usually they say the 20th agent. They usually say somewhere between 5 and 20 or 30, right? So they say, you're the 20th agent who called me today. Wow, I'm surprised. There's over 15,000 agents in this city. It's crazy that only 20 have called you. And you can use that with any. There's over 500 agents in the city. It's crazy that only 20 have called you. Are you familiar with the techniques I use to sell homes? Oh, that's crazy. When's a good time for me to show you? Today at 5 or at 6? Well, I don't think I'm going to do anything. Like I said, I'm just tired of you guys wasting my time. I don't know where you were when I was trying to sell my house to begin with. Well, let me ask you this. If I could sell your home in the next 30 days, will that cause a problem for you? Well, I don't know. Can you think you can do that? I don't know. I haven't seen your home yet. When's a good time for me to see it? Today at 5 or at 6? You're using, now this is funny because I came up with a script because an agent threw this at me, and they were trying to prove a point. And so we just proved a point right back, right? That this guy told her that you are using the exact same script that last person that called me did. So I think they were calling in the same area, using the same scripts. And I said, and so she started saying, that's great. That means that they were also trained by the world's best training organization. You know, we're not only trained to reach out to sellers like yourself, but we're highly trained to get home so quickly. Let me ask you, would you rather use someone who is highly trained and skilled in selling homes quickly, or would you prefer to get saddled with an underskilled agent? And then you let that one lay out there for a minute. Would you rather be saddled with an underskilled agent? Well, I guess that's not a good alternative. Well, I have a very effective system. Are you familiar with the techniques I use to sell homes? That's crazy. When's a good time for us to meet? Today at 5 or at 7? And then you could go on the other ones. I'm just really not interested, but I do know they're interested, because we would still be on the phone. If they weren't interested, they would have hung up. The way people tell me they're really not interested is by hanging up on me. I'm really just not interested. Well, I hear you. Let's do this. And these are my favorite words, right? Let's do this. Let's do this. I know you still need to sell your home, and I know I could sell it quickly. Give me 15 minutes of your time today around 5 or 7. If you're not absolutely convinced I could sell your home for more money in a shorter time, then you've only lost like a few minutes. Well, I don't know. Well, let me ask you this. If I could sell your home in less than 30 days, will that cause a problem for you? See, just go back to the same thing, because I know that they're saying the same things. That other guy, the other agent, is going to give me a discount. Will you? Everything's negotiable. So since I haven't seen your home, I don't even know if I'm going to be listing it yet. When's a good time for us to get together? Today at 5 or at 7? Never talk about commission over the phone. We're not trying to sell a commission. We're not trying to do a presentation. What we're going to be doing next is the presentation. Right now, we're trying to sell on the appointment. If you start trying to negotiate over the phone or talk about what you will and won't do on the phone, you've gotten off track, and you're going to lose. You lose every time. The other agents give me a discount on the commission. Will you? Well, it's really not really the way. Let me explain. The other agent's not going to do anything, and I'm going to do everything. And, I hear that all the time, and like, stop it. Don't say anything. Just say everything's negotiable. Since I haven't seen your home, I don't even know if I will be listing it. That's called a takeaway. I don't even know if I want to list your dump, buddy. Let me come see it, and I'll let you know. Right. And that's how you get that back on track. Well, are you familiar with my area? Intimately. When's a good time for us to get together? Don't go into, well, I have a GPS and I'm kind of familiar with the area, blah, blah, blah. Just say intimately and then move on. Well, I haven't seen any of your signs anywhere. That's because most of our homes are sold before they even hit the market. When's a good time for us to get together? Or are you familiar with the techniques I use to sell homes? Get you right back on track. Where were you when my home was being listed? Why didn't you bring me a buyer then? Well, quite honestly, Mr. Seller, I didn't even know your home was on the market until it came up as an expired. Of course, that's not going to happen with my aggressive marketing plan. Are you familiar with the techniques I use to sell homes? I'm just not going to list with an agent. I am not listing with an agent. Great. I am not interested in listing your home. My job is to sell it. Are you familiar with the techniques I use to sell homes? Well, just send me your information, and I'll look through it. And I'm getting a lot of calls. Send me over your card or whatever, or your marketing plan or whatever, and I'll look at it. Okay, great. I'll tell you what, I'll do you one better. I can set up a time where I can take a look at the home, maybe 10 or 15 minutes, and allow you to see exactly what your customized plan would look like. If I could sell your home in the next 30 days, would that be a problem for you? Or if you want to just break through, you say, oh, sure, I'll send you some information. What's your email? And as they start to tell you, before they tell you the email, you say something like, are you just trying to get rid of me? Because usually when people tell me to send them stuff, they're just trying to get rid of me. Now, this one takes a little bit more of a backbone to say, because they're not going to go, yeah, I'm just trying to get rid of you. So that's what you want to do. But then you could say, well, are you familiar with the techniques I use to sell homes? No, I can't say that I am, because now they're a little embarrassed because they know they were trying to get rid of you. And then you ask them, and you close them, and you ask them for the appointment. Do you really think you can get my home sold in 30 days? I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. When's a good time for me to take a look at it? Today at 5 or at 7? You never take no when an answer for an answer when yes is still available. That's what those things are. And I promise you, whether there's 14 of them, it's probably the only things you'll ever hear, or a little alternative of those things. When you start calling the expireds or talking to them face to face or in person or on the phone, you're only going to hear a certain few things. The ones who stay on track, stay on your script, and then stay on track. They try to knock you off your game. You just come right back, knock them off their game, and you're ready to go, and you'll get the appointment. And these scripts are here in the script booklet under session 1. Okay, so you can go back there, you can practice those and have fun with it. You can get another agent to try to throw you off track and get really good at it, right? You're not just there to help each other memorize a script. You're there to help each other get through the appointment, and just be mean to each other. But if, as you do, just get better at the overcoming the objections. All right. So with that being said, we're going to pop over now to tonight's session. That was just a close up last night. So we're going to go to session 5. Now under session 5, if you'll notice, there's another drop down. So since we're talking about the listing process tonight, there is a drop down and it said listing packet, right? So it has a complete listing packet example under the drop down for session 5. We don't have, let's go ahead and look there real quick. Boom, boom, boom. And this thing is always in my way. You can't see it, but I can. It's crazy. All right, click here. And then here's information about broker services, wire fraud, and all these things here are all the things that you're going to need for your listing. And they're filled out so you can look at it to make sure you're doing it correctly. Okay. So if you're new to it and you haven't gotten listings before, this is how you do it. If you're a mentor and you want to share something with your mentees about how to do it, all of it's right here. And everything you need to upload into SkySlope and to present it to your client are here. Okay. So that being said, let's go ahead and pop back to the main page on session 5, and let's take a look. Take a look. It's in a book. Let's see here. Perfect listing process. It's pretty arrogant to say a perfect listing process, but I feel like it's a perfect listing process, just like we all think our children are perfect, right? But I feel like this is great because it works, and there's a process. We're going to talk about that. There's also supplemental materials that we're going to cover in this presentation: the CMA basics, the pre-listing interview that we're going to cover, and a sample net sheet that we're going to cover. Okay. And then this is a customizable listing presentation. I recommend not customizing it very much because we're going to go over it word for word, but you can click it and edit. Now, when you open this up, you can download it as a PowerPoint. Okay. Download it as a PowerPoint, and then you can edit it. And I'll show you how I think you should edit some of the stuff as we go through it. And then below that, there's a listing agreement example that shows you how to fill out your listing agreement from top to bottom. And then down below is something you don't need to show your clients, but if you need to understand what the listing agreement is talking about, there is an explanation that tells you exactly what the listing agreement means, just like the 1 to 4 family I told you about. See these little blue arrows? It points at a section. It tells you what it means. Okay, so this is really cool. A lot of information here. You're like, oh my gosh, Rick, how do you do it? I don't know. I just do it. No, I just put this together over time, and I found things that I know that agents need. And it started out as trying to help mentors, because mentees would come in and they would go, I don't know what to do. I can't reach my mentor. My mentor's not teaching me anything. So I thought, well, maybe mentors just need to know more, and have more resources. And that's how this all started. And it's developed into what this is. And this class that we do is just a 7-day class of everything that I would teach you to start your business, only in a very quick and a little bit faster pace than normal. But hopefully you can refer back to all this stuff and use these resources to help you be a badass, right? That's what we want you to do. And I hope you don't get offended by when I say that. That's just, I have no other way to describe what you're going to be. So here we go. Let's go ahead and, what happened? It walked. It went on mute. What was the last time you heard me? What was the last thing I said? You can unmute.
When you said what happened? When you said what happened?
Oh, when I said what happened, well, nothing has happened since then. I must have had a glitch in the computer. So because it went blip, 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 and then it went crazy. So thank you so much, Jennifer. So nothing has happened. I'm just going to go back and remute you. So we're good to go. Sorry about that. I don't know how in the world that happened. All right. So far, since we've started this presentation, since we've started our wonderful class, we have learned to set goals, set a schedule, talk to people. Most important thing we need to do is make conversation every day. We've learned the buyer process, talked about low-hanging fruit in our expired listing, sphere of influence and getting listings, scripts, and setting appointments, which we've covered all of this pretty much pretty extensively. Because there's a process to everything. There is a process that will get you from A to B and A to Z, right? You have to trust the process, but you have to learn the process and then trust it. If you do the same thing over and over, then you'll have a repeatable business, a repeatable process that you can do over and over that's always going to work. Even when it doesn't work one time, it's going to work the next time, because we don't always get every listing. We don't always get through, but I will tell you, by the time you've gone through what we've done so far and get to the point where someone says, sure, come on over and we'll talk about listing our house with you, or hear what you have to say, we're already almost there. We just have to have a great presentation, and we have to have something that's going to step us through a process that will eliminate all objections as we go. Okay, so that's the idea. And then we can learn to love the process, because we know the process is getting us to our success that we want to be. I mean, we don't have to think about it. Once we've learned the process, we just jump back in. It becomes muscle memory. We talked about that the other night when I talked about Eddie Van Halen or some type of great guitar player who they don't look at it, they make it look like they've never had to practice. It was just a gift given them, that they learned they could play the guitar, but they never miss a note. But the truth is, they've just practiced so much, they never miss a note. So in this market, pretty much anybody can get lucky and get a listing. You're going to get people calling you just by being there, just by being out and about and talking to whoever you normally talk to. You'll probably get a listing. But I don't like relying on luck. I much rather rely on skill. And when we talk about, because we can get lucky. I mean, people get lucky and win the lottery all the time. They win at roulette or any type of game of chance. But if you're going to be a real professional, if you're a professional, which I believe that's why we're all here, right? We want to be professional real estate agents, professional sales associates. We need a process and a method that we can practice over and over and over and get really good at it and develop our skill. And that's what all of these things we talked about since the beginning, the first night, which seems now a long time ago, but it's only been 4 nights ago. We're talking about things that we can do to develop our skill. The more referrals we get and the more equals the more repeat business. So we want to make sure when we're doing all of these things and standing out from the crowd, it's all about getting more referrals, right? We don't want to disappoint our client. Now, we always want to get a listing, right? We always want to get the listing. So that's a given. But not only do I want to get a listing, I want that person to be in my sphere of influence, my past client sphere of influence, and I want them to become a source of referrals for the rest of our lives, right? As long as I'm doing this business. So we're going to talk about how we're going to stand out from the crowd and stand out from other agents when we're trying to get an appointment. Okay. Once we have an appointment, we know someone who had a listing, whether they're in the market and they're interviewing other agents, or they are it's an expired and another agent called them. You may be competing. Hopefully not. Hopefully that you're the only one out there, but there's a very good chance you're going to be competing with other agents, and you're for sure competing with the memory of the past agent that had their house listed before it expired or whatever, or you're competing with the myth of another agent that someone that told them about. Okay, so now we have to go in there fully prepared. What are we going to do to prepare for a listing appointment? Now that we've made the appointment, we've gotten through the hard part. Now we just have to take it home. Okay. but we have to be ready, and we have to have a pre-qualification script, which I'm going to provide to you, a CMA, which we're going to talk about briefly, a net sheet, a marketing plan, a listing agreement, and a sign for the yard. That is what we need when we're get all of this ready so that we can go on our listing appointment. Okay. We don't just show up and go, hey, you ready for me to, list your house? Don't do that, right? We have a plan, and we're going to execute our plan, and we're going to go, if we do it step by step, and I have to reiterate this every time, there's a process that we talked about with buyers. There's a process we talked about with generating leads. There's a process we talked about with getting appointments, and there's a process for this. If you do not do the process correctly, it may or may not work. It's probably not going to work. If you follow the process, you won't have to worry about that. And what I don't like is when I finish talking about this, and then someone comes and they want advice on what they've done or what they should do when they didn't do it all right the first time, right? If you didn't go through the process, I really can't help you figure out what you did wrong or what you should do to fix it, right? But if you follow the process every time, you're almost always going to get great results, okay? So what is a pre-listing interview or a pre-qualification script? A pre-qualification script, it's not like a lender pre-qualification. We're pre-qualifying the listing, okay? We're going to talk to them before we go out there. Now you've got the appointment, which is fantastic. Now you have to call them again. So I hang up on a Monday. I set the appointment for Friday, and I need to start getting ready for this presentation as quickly as possible. I don't wait until, if my appointment's for 2 o'clock on Friday afternoon, I'm not waiting until Friday morning to get ready. I have to get ready a day or two before. You should have everything done 24 hours before you're ready to go on your appointment. And we'll talk more about that, but you have a script and some questions you need to ask them. So I set the appointment on Monday, probably around Tuesday or Wednesday, I'm going to call them. And I'm going to say, hi, have a little small talk. This is Rick. How are you doing? Before I come out, there are a number of questions I need to ask you. Is that okay? They say, sure, no problem. And now just by doing this, you've already overachieved, I should say, and outwitted every other agent that they're working with, especially, and I hope at this point that they have another appointment with somebody, because they're not doing this. Nobody is calling them. They're all afraid that when they call them, they're going to get canceled on. I want them to cancel on me. If they're going to cancel on me, I want it to be now. I don't want to drive all the way across town. I want to spend all my time putting together a presentation, getting all hyped up and running through my process, and then getting there, they don't show up. I don't want to have a no-show. I want to make sure they're going to be there. So if they're going to cancel, let them cancel now, right? So I call them, and I set myself apart by being the only one who's called them and asked them some extra questions. Hey, before I come out, there's a number of questions I need to ask you, okay? Oh, sure, no problem. Okay, if you feel comfortable and confident that I can sell your home, do you plan to list your home with me? And they usually say, well, we'll see. Probably, I would think so, but we don't know, or whatever, right? Great. Whatever they say, it's always great. Fantastic. Tell me again, where are you moving to? We're moving to Dallas. Okay, fantastic. How soon do you have to be there? Okay. Oh, in a couple of months. Okay, I see. All right. So, or you should have already been there, whatever they say, right? A lot of times if it's an expired, they're already past due. The husband or wife is already living there, and they're just waiting to sell this house. Those are situations that are bad for them, good for us. But either way, we're trying to help build that urgency. Where are you moving and how soon do you need to be there? Okay, great. So now these are very important questions, right? How much do you want to list your home for? And they might say, well, I'll know, you're the professional. Maybe you should tell me. And I said, yeah, I totally am. I'm going to get together. I'm going to get everything together and bring it to you. But I know you must have an idea what you want to list your home for. Yeah, well, we were wanting to list it for no less than 320. Okay, great. So is that the price you won't go below? What price won't you go below when you're listing your home? Well, we think 320 is the bottom line. Okay, great. So 320 would be the bottom. Fantastic. How much do you owe on your property? Well, I think, I don't know. Well, do you have a monthly statement on your mortgage? If you could just look at that, it'll tell you what your balance is. You may not have to say that to them or whatever, but you can tell them. If they try to blow you off on any of these questions, make sure they understand that it's important that you know this stuff. Okay, what price won't you go below? how much do you own the property? And so is that a current payoff? Fantastic. Okay, would you please describe the home for me a little bit? And then they'll just tell you a little bit about the home, and I'm taking notes and all that good stuff. And then when they're finished, I said, great, well, it sounds awesome. So I'll be sending over a package of information. Will you take a few moments to review it? Fantastic, thank you. So what's your email address? Okay, I get their email address, and I said, all right, I'm going to shoot that over to you. Do you have any questions for me? Okay, great. So we answer what questions, whatever. They usually don't. So just so you know, our meeting should only take between 15 and 30 minutes. Is that okay? Yeah, sure. Okay, great. And then you're done, right? You're done asking questions. You have all the answers you need. The main ones we needed, this is the reason we did this. We wanted to make sure we stood out and did a quick pre-close to find out if they're planning to list with us, or if they may be talking to other people. They're going to tell us that. I'm going to build some urgency that remind them when they're moving and how soon they need to move, so I can use that later. How much do you want to list your house for? I'm not going to go in there blind. I don't want to go in there and them say, with a 320 price, think I'm doing great, and they wanted to sell their house for 400,000. That's embarrassing, right? And it leaves you with like, I don't know what to do. So and then you ask them, what price won't you go below? Because I want to know what their bottom line is. I want to know what their expectation is. And then I ask them what they owe on their property, because how can I do a decent CMA or a net sheet if I don't know what they owe? And my presentation is going to hinge on my net sheet and getting them the money that they feel like they need. So we need to know how much they owe on their property. We need to know how much they want to list for, what they won't go below, and how much they owe. And then the whole describing the house for me is just kind of get them talking about themselves. And then I tell them I'm going to send over a package of information, and it's basically we're going to send over the same presentation that I'm going to go over. And because I don't want to spend an hour going over the presentation, I want to be able to do a presentation, hit the highlights, and they have already looked at it. Okay, so that's the idea. And then I get their address, email address if I don't have it, and then I tell them it's only going to take about 15 to 30 minutes, so they don't think that we're going to be doing this for hours, because it's not going to take a long time. I don't want to go in there and spend hours with these people. I want to go in there and get them to sign a contract or listing agreement and leave, right? Okay, so, but no matter what, I want to go through part of this process. I want to go through the process with everybody. Even if they say, well, I don't need to see that, I don't need that, let me just sign. I need everybody to understand that I'm going to do certain things for them. I'm going to do what I'm going to do and how we're going to do it, because I don't want them to have doubts if the house starts sitting there for a little while, right? I don't want to start thinking, well, maybe I shouldn't have talked to Rick. Maybe I should fire him and forget about him for the rest of his life, right? We don't want that to happen. So that being said, that's why we do this pre-listing interview. You do it with every listing appointment. Don't skip it. You skip it, then it's going to be detrimental to your process. All right, so then we're going to do we have to put together a CMA and a net sheet. Now that we know all those questions, the questions are answered, like how much they want to sell it for, what's their bottom line, how much they owe, right? Those are the things we need. So now I know what target I'm trying to hit. So don't overthink your appraisal. I'm not your appraisal, your CMA. We're not appraisers, right? We're just trying to do broker price opinions, or CMA, comparative market analysis. When you start trying to overthink it and start trying to do too many adjustments and things like that, you're going to screw up. All we're trying to do is get a number that we think that house will sell for. Okay. And in this market, we could always go a little over if you think that where you live, the houses are going at a higher rate, right? But we don't want to go too crazy with it, because if we overprice a house, it'll sit there. The only reason a house doesn't sell, especially if you're going to an expired, the only reason it's still sitting there is because it's overpriced. Okay, so, and we're going to talk more about that later. So we don't want to overprice the house. We can underprice it and take multiple offers and cause a bidding war, which is what's happening, right? We don't have to overprice it, because the market will do that for us. Okay, and we'll get what the market dictates by pricing it at a decent price, and that's what we're going to explain that to them as we go. All right, so with the CMA, you're going to find you're going to find your property on the county appraisal district, and I'm not going to go over this a lot. I've given these steps to you so you can know where to start and how to get your basic CMA. Okay. And if you're using RPR, again, I hate using words like that because if you haven't done it, I don't want you to go, well, what's RPR? Or tell me about RPR. And I don't want somebody on the other side to say, well, that's perfect. Let me give you a tutorial. That's not what we're doing tonight, okay? But I just want you to understand there's ways to do the CMA without overthinking it. So you find the property on the appraisal district, log in your MLS, and you do the search criteria for the sold status, because I don't care what's on the market and I don't care what's expired. What I care is what price is, because what's on the market is what we hope it'll sell for. What's expired is what we know it won't sell for. What's sold is what we know it will sell for. That's what we're looking for. And we're looking for the most recent comps, okay? We're not looking for 9 months back because this market is changing daily. We want to go, you want to do the sold status. You want to get the exact subdivision or the exact area. If it's not in a subdivision, you want to do the little perimeter of the polygon or the perimeter, and you want to just inch out past the subject property until you find enough comps to work with. You don't want to go a mile away or anything like that unless you're out in the middle of you know where, right? But you want to make sure that you're staying very close. And if it's in a subdivision, it has to be in the same subdivision unless it's a brand new house, which we talked about the other night. So what we're doing, but you're not gonna be doing CMAs on new builds. So we're gonna do, if we're doing a CMA, we're gonna do a subdivision. We're gonna put the exact subdivision or area in there. And we're gonna start by going back 3 months. We're gonna see if we have enough comps 3 months back. If I could have enough comps 1 month back, it would even be better, right? But 3 months, I think is a good range. And that's where the appraisers are gonna start. The appraisers are gonna start 3 months back. And then if they have to, they'll move up to 6 months. Nobody's looking past 6 months, right? You have to stay close within the subdivision or in the very, very close proximity and go no more than 6 months back. And then put a square footage range in there. If you don't see it, you can add it to your MLS and go and do a search for something about 300 square feet below and about 300 square feet over. And then you view your results, and then you pick out 2 to 4 homes in those parameters, and you've got your comps, okay? That's basically what you need. And you can, if you can say, well, this house has special nails, this house has a radiant barrier, this house has a pool, it has a fountain in front. I don't care what it has. These are going to be the closest comps you can get. We can adjust a little bit for a few things, but very few things can we adjust for. One of the things we have to understand is no matter how much money a person has put into a house to bring it up to and to upgrade it, quote unquote, and bring it up to today's standards with the rest of the kids, it doesn't put more value in the home, right? And there's very few things a person can do to put a lot of value in the home that's over the comps, because they may over improve their house, but that doesn't mean they're going to get that money back. You have to stay very close to the comps to be realistic, right? So you're going to just if you'll put these in there, I can promise you almost every time I'm very close to what the appraiser comes out to. And I just don't overthink it. I never do adjustments. I never do anything other than a pool. If it's a pool or an outdoor living, something that they have something special that people like, a pool, I can put 10 to 12,000, maybe 15, depending on the size of the pool, maybe 15,000, usually more like $10,000 on top of the pool if the other comps don't have a pool. If the other comps have a pool, then I can't add anything to the comps, right? But if they don't have a pool, it's the only one with a pool, I can add some money to it, or I can maybe add a few $1,000s here and there, but I need to stay very close to what the houses are selling for to get a good range, to get a real comp that we could sell the house for. And again, even if it's low, in this market, we'll start getting multiple offers and a bidding war going. Okay, so the pre-listing packet basically is this. What you're going to send them is the presentation. You're going to give them a PDF version of your presentation. We're going to call it a pre-listing packet, but it's basically your marketing presentation. We're not going to send comps. We're not going to send net sheets, because if you do that, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot. All I'm sending them is what I'm going to do to market their house. And I've sent that to them so they can look at it and they can let me know when I get there what they think about it. Okay. So these are the items to take with you. We've got our CMA, and with the CMA, we can do a net sheet, right? So we know how much their house is worth. We know how much, not how much their house is worth, but how much they owe and how much we think we're going to sell it for. So we know with the CMA, what we're going to try to sell it for, and we know what they want to sell it for, and we know how much they owe. So you can go on to any of the apps. I use Trinity Titles app. Some people, and even though there's not very many Trinity titles left, but you can find a title company, and they have an app on their website usually that you can create a cool net sheet. Okay, let me see if I have it here. So I don't have it here, but I'm going to show you the net sheet when we go through the presentation. Okay, get a net sheet, and I'll show you how we're going to present that. Then we have our marketing plan, which is what I showed you that you can download. We're going to go through in a few minutes. And then we have our listing agreement. We're going to pre-fill that listing agreement out because we have all the information we need on that house. We don't have to sit there and shake and shimmy and try to fill out a listing agreement under duress, right? We already have it filled out. All we need to leave blank is the term and the price. When the agreed price on should be left blank, and how long we're going to be listing it should be left blank. Everything else is already filled in, so I don't have to do anything else, okay? Including the commission, because I'm not changing my commission for nobody. Just so you know, they're not, even if they ask me, the answer is always no, and we'll talk about that. And a sign for the yard, take a sign for the yard. So these are the things you need to take with you on your presentation. So see how easy this is? I had a quick conversation with my client. I did a real easy CMA, found out, got some comps together, and I printed it out. I think, and let's just go back real quick to the CMA. Please spring for color, okay? And there's a reason, there's a method behind my madness, right? A lot of people take 2 or 3 comps, and that's really all you need, 2 or 3 comps. Or the more you have, the better, that are good comps. But what I want is a nice presentation. I don't want to use the summary, and I don't want to use a black and white piece of crap paper, right? What I want to use is something that looks like it took a while for me to do, because it's going to be hard. The better and more professional it looks like it is, the harder it's going to be for them to dispute it. That's why I love using RPR. And if I can't use RPR, I'll print out the whole report that you get through the MLS, because it looks really great, and it looks like and it looks professional. And I put it in color, and it has all the maps and all that good stuff, which is really nice. Side-by-side comparisons. But with RPR, you get all the side-by-side comparisons, you get the comps, you get all this, you get these cool graphs and data and charts and stuff. So it looks like a scientist put together. I say, how can you argue with science? Look at all this. This is what you should sell your house for. This is not my words. This is the numbers, and the numbers never lie, right? So I don't mind if I take a 40-page book with me. I'm going to take something that looks really good. I'm not going to go over all of it with them. The only thing I care about is their price. But when they look at this book that I take with me, or this pamphlet that I created, the CMA report, they're just by looking at it, they're going to go, oh, well, I guess I can't argue with that. That's what we have to get. It's psychological, right? We're using psychological warfare all the way through this. How are they going to argue with science, right? So, and all these charts and graphs and everything. So that's what I want to say. If I show up with, so it looks like I got 2 comps here that looks like you should sell your house for this, it's easy to argue with that, right? But it's not easy to argue when I look super professional. I've already showed up. I've already showed you and called you and showed you how professional I am. I show up with this awesome presentation. I'm early, and we're going to go through all this stuff, but I look so professional, and I act so professional, and I have this awesome CMA. It's really hard to argue with, and that's where we're getting to, right? So that's why it's the stuff that you take is very limited, but you have to make sure it's professional. That's what I want you to take, because it's going to be hard to argue with. All right. So this is basically the complete process. Let's just kind of look through it with our preparation we talked about already. We set the appointment. We use our pre-listing script. We send the pre-listing email. We prepare our CMA and our net sheet. We have it ready 24 hours in advance. That way you're not stressed out. Do not wait till the same day. If you wait till the same day, you're putting yourself at a huge disadvantage. Well, I can do this quick, Rick, watch me. Well, why push it? Just have it all ready and ready to rock and roll the day before. And if you have an appointment that you set today for tomorrow, get up early and get it done before anything else, and just get that ready to rock and roll, okay? And then set your GPS to get there 15 minutes early. You're not going to knock on the door 15 minutes early. We're going to talk about that, but you want to be 15 minutes early. If you're not 15 minutes early, you're late. Everywhere. You should plan to be everywhere 15 minutes early. Drives me crazy that professional realtors have no courtesy, and they're late all the time. So if you want to be somewhere and prove that you're not like everybody else, be early. And if you're late, you're already a liar, right? You've already created you've already created an objection that you're going to have to overcome, because they're sitting and waiting there for you, and you're 2, 3, 5, 10 minutes late. No matter what you send them, they're just going to roll their eyes. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm in traffic and blah, blah, blah. Oh, we should just cancel, right? That's what I think. If you're not on time to my house, don't even come, right? I don't want you here. If I don't know you and you set an appointment, maybe we can meet again in another life. How about that? So we do, we drive there and we get our mindset right, and we greet them, and that's then we're going to present, view the home, build rapport, sit in a safe, quiet place, do the presentation, do the pricing script, do the presentation, present the CMA, do a net sheet, and get them to sign the agreement. This is the complete process. So let's go through this. We have to be mentally prepared. That's why you want to be early. That's why you have to get everything done the day before, or early that same day, so you're ready to go. You've got your mind right. You don't want to be nervous. And then you leave early for the appointment because you don't want to be rushing around going, oh my God, they're not going to be there, or what am I going to say, or whatever. Then when you're on your way to your listing agreement, basically all day long, when you have an appointment ready, try to avoid negativity. I mean, this goes without saying every day, but when you're in your car driving over to the listing appointment, don't be handling business. Don't be handling business on the phone. Don't think, well, I can just talk to people. I'm going to talk to my other clients. You can put those other clients off for the next 15, 20 minutes, right? Don't listen to the radio. Don't listen to any dumb podcasts. Don't listen to how somebody got away with murder. Don't listen to talk radio or any of that stuff that's going to cause you to get angry or sad or depressed. Don't listen to sad music. I love country music, but I'm not going to listen to He Stopped Loving Her Today on the way to my presentation, right? I'm going to listen to something that's motivational. Pop in some music that is going to get you pumped up. Whatever the music is that turns you up, right? Make sure you're listening to that and turn it up to where your mind is clear and all you're thinking about is how badass you are and that you're going to get this appointment, right? Don't be thinking about other things. And for God's sakes, don't make a phone call to your boyfriend, girlfriend, or your significant other, or your spouse, or your kids, or anything on your way to your appointment, because you won't want anything to turn into an argument that take you away and distract you from your presentation. This is the only thing you have to do today. I've got to make this appointment. I've got to get this listing because I'm going to make 10 grand on this listing, and I'm going to get 2 more buyers off of it, and I'm going to make a lot more money. So this is very important. I'm going to arrive 10 to 15 minutes early. I'm going to pull out in front of the house, and I'm not going to go in. I'm going to sit outside like a weirdo and make them wonder what I'm doing, right? They're going to see that, they're going to see me in the car, the truck, and they're going to look out and they're going to talk to each other. I wonder what he's doing out there, because I don't want to be real early. I'm going to be 5 minutes early, 5 minutes until I'm going to go and I'm going to walk up to the door and I'm going to knock, right? That's what I'm going to do 5 minutes early, and then I'm going to be ready to go. I'm going to have my stuff that I prepared. I'm going to wait in the car for 5 minutes, and then I'm going to go knock 5 minutes before my appointment time. So I am not late, but I'm not too early, okay? And the whole time I'm doing this, I'm envisioning myself getting this listing. I know what's going to happen. I walk myself through the process. I know I'm going to knock on the door. I'm going to shake their hand. I'm going to ask them to show me around the house. Then I'm going to say, do you mind if we sit in the kitchen? And then I'm going to say, did you get the packet that I sent over to you? Fantastic. What did you think about it? I'm not going to go over the whole thing. I'm just going to hit the highlights, the things that I think are very important, because I want you to know what I'm doing. And then I'm going to show them I'm going to do the pre-close. I'm going to show them the CMA and the net sheet and I'm going to say, that after everything is said and done, this is what you're going to make. Can you live with that? They say, yes, fantastic. All the stuff to do is sign the contract. And then we go and then we do the listing signing, and that's it. So I walk myself through that, and I know that's what's going to happen at the end. They're not going to object. I'm going to get the listing. So as I walk up the sidewalk, I walk in and I step off the grass to look like a weirdo and look and see what's up there. Then I knock on the door, smile, and introduce myself. This is all a part of the process. And I do the same thing every time. That's why I can just walk myself through it in my brain. All right. So knock on the door. Hi, I'm Rick. How are you? Thank you for having me. And then we can I walk in and I say, do you mind showing me around your house, right? And I usually have a manila folder with all my stuff in it that I can write on the outside of. I don't take a fancy leather bound anything because I can't write on my leather bound something. I have a manila folder that I write on so I can take notes. And I said, do you mind showing me around? And I asked him to show me the good and the bad and even the ugly, if you don't mind. What you think, things that might need work. And I have them walk me around and and I'm talking as we go because we only have a couple of minutes now to build rapport. You know how we talked about building rapport during the buyer interview? We have to build rapport now during the during this walkthrough, right? We're walking through the house, we're talking, we're looking at things in the house like items and man, I see that you love monkeys. That's really cool. So those are my grandkids. Oh, I'm so sorry. Don't do that, right? But they say, oh, look, this is a are you a bowler? Are you a fisher? Whatever you see in the house, you want to say something something, especially if it's something that might strike a chord with you. You think you can find some common ground. Talk about it because people have stuff on their wall and out displayed because they like to talk about it, right? They want you to notice it. And that's going to help you build rapport. So as you walk through the house, you're going to notice where the kitchen or dining room is. And then you're going to say, okay, well, great. You'll say, did you get the presentation that I sent you? They say, yes, I did. Do you mind if we sit in the kitchen or dining room, whichever one you pick, right? Don't sit in the living room. Don't sit anywhere else except for at a kitchen table or a dining room table, because you have to be where the business is done and where there's no distractions. Even if they want you to sit in the den or the media room or something, they're going to be distracted. You have to ask them, do you mind if we sit over here? Okay, great. So, and they're not going to say no, okay? Well, hell no, I don't want to sit over there. I'm sitting here. They're going to say, no, sure, no problem. They're going to come over, you're going to sit at the table and you're going to be able to look at them, right? And now then that's when you're going to ask them about the presentation. Now, these are hints about the presentation. Now I'm going to be going over this presentation, but there's things that you need to understand when you're giving a presentation. 7 to 8 are better, but 5 are good. So no matter how long or short your presentation is, I need to get 5 yeses. And what I mean, we're going to do a feature, a benefit, and a tie down. A feature, benefit, and tie down is when we go through the presentation, we tell them what this is and why it's good for you and ask them to agree that that's awesome. That's what a feature, benefit, and tie down is. And then we say, so here's what happens next. We never say, so what do you think? Are you ready to get started? What are your thoughts? You ready to get this thing going? No, you say, here's what happens next. Whenever you're transitioning from one section to the next, you say, let's do this. Here's what happens next or something. Because if you ask their permission, you're not going to get it. You have to drive the train. Okay. I need you talking to them in a way that it's just rolling. Okay, this is what we do next, or here's what happens next. We're going to go over the numbers, and here's what happens next. We're going to sign the contract, right? And then they don't have room to say no, right? So, and you'll see those feature, benefits, and tie downs as we go through the presentation. Okay. We're going to go through the pricing. So these are the steps, right? 1, we're going through the tour and take notes. Then we're going to find our safe island. Then we're going to do their presentation, and we're going to do our pricing, right? We're going to talk to her about our pricing and do our net sheet. And more pricing stuff. And then we're going to sign the listing agreement. That's how easy it is, right? So without further ado, we're going to jump right into the marketing presentation. Okay. So this is the way it happened. We went inside, we walked in, we said, hi, do you mind showing me around the house? I took notes as we went through. I asked them about their likes and the stuff of their house. We built a rapport. We sat at the kitchen table and I said, did you happen to have a chance to look at the presentation that I sent you? And they say, yes, we did. We did, or we didn't look at it, but it looked like a lot of good information. And I said, yeah, I know. And the reason I sent it to you is I don't want to waste a lot of your time going over everything in this presentation and everything that I do, because when you talk about everything I do, it's just a lot, right? So I want to highlight or bring your attention to the highlights, right? And that's what I tell them. And we're going to go, this should take just a couple of minutes when I do this. So then we're going to sit there and I have this, I don't have it on a computer. I have it on a computer, but I printed it and I put it in my folder so I can have something tangible for them to look and hold, right? So they can see it and understand what's happening. Everything that I'm showing you here, I have in a paper form, not because I hate trees or the environment, and I don't like technology, but it's because I need them to engage with me, right? And so far, I've done everything I can to get them engaged, and that's where we're at this point. Did you happen to look at the presentation that I sent you? Okay, well, I have a copy of it right here, and I thought we just hit the highlights. Okay, so now you can see that it's called Progressive Marketing Strategies to Get Your Home Sold. Now, if this isn't expired, I'm going to say I'm looking at this house and I'm wondering why it didn't sell. I mean, I think I know it's because of the marketing. So let me show you what I'm going to do. Now this is the presentation that you guys can download and you can edit to be your own. Now, you can change this page a little bit because this says when you look to sell a home with an EXP agent, you can trust that you'll be blah, blah, blah. Here, it's probably a good idea for you to change this up to where when you look to sell a home with me or look to sell your home with ABC real estate group or whatever your team name is, or whatever you want to say it, this is a place where you can kind of make this about you, right? You don't want to spend too much time talking about you. And please don't even get me started right now about all the ego marketing that's going on out there. The sellers couldn't give a rip about you and about your face and about your personality when you're advertising. They want to know about what you're going to do for them, right? The personality is going to come out during the time. So make sure that you're spending a lot of time talking about what you're going to do for them instead of about yourself. But you do want to introduce yourself and tell them about who you are and what you do, right? And this page, you don't always have to have this page, but when I first put this together, EXP was not as well known as it is, and still a lot of people aren't that familiar with EXP. So I let them know what it's like and what EXP does, and nationally and in Real Trends magazine. And I used a part in the bottom here for my local board. So you can go and put your local information in here and talk about how we're one of the top in San Antonio. We're the #2 brokerage in the city and all that good stuff. So you can talk about how awesome we are if you want to, or you don't have to. It's completely up to you. So then we get started. In addition to all the things that you would normally expect from your agent, I have several unique strategies that are above and beyond the scope of the average realtor. There's a couple of things that are running themes, right? One of them is unique strategies. The other is above and beyond the scope of the average realtor, because you're not an average realtor. You are not an average realtor. That's what you're trying to get into their brain, okay? And you show them this chart that this is where people find their houses. As you know, most people are looking on the internet. So the first strategy I have is my job is to make sure your listing gets seen. That's why I syndicate all my listings and to all the listings I have to the major property portals, including but not limited to the ones you see here. So this chart will show you everywhere that List Hub, that we have a deal with List Hub, and List Hub will push these listings out. The MLS already pushes them out to a lot of places, and then List Hub pushes them out to a lot more. You don't have to go into where you're going it. You just show them this this graphic, and they go, ooh. So this is how it goes. Well, my job is to make sure your listing's getting seen. That's why I syndicate all my listings to all of the major property portals, including but not limited to this. And that's a lot of places, isn't it, Mr. Seller? That means there's going to be a lot of eyes looking at your listing. And that's the type of marketing you want, right? Yes. Okay. So there's feature all the listings. Number benefit, a lot of eyes looking at your listing. And number 3, isn't that awesome? Yes. Feature, benefit, and tie down. And my first yes. I'm going to do a unique property website because nobody else does this, because most agents are too cheap. By creating a unique property website, for each of my listings, I'm able to attract online buyers as well as provide local buyers with fast and comprehensive information about your property. You don't have to read that. You can let them read it, or you can just say that in paraphrase if you want to. These days, it's easy for properties to get lost in the thousands of real estate listings out there. Your property is going to be unique because of the site. Now, just so you know, everyone's going, how do I do this? You just go and do a single property website or a squeeze page with your KV Core. It's free. And then I go on GoDaddy and I buy an address 123happyhollow.com or .net or whatever's cheapest, and I add it there. Then I have a free, almost free, unique property website. But I tell them that's what I'm going to do, and they're like, oh. And I say, now, and I know most agents don't do this, but I think that's pretty cool, don't you? And they go, oh yeah, that's cool. Fantastic. So I'm also going to make sure I'm using unique professional photography. And I show them the examples. I say, here's a daytime view and check out this twilight view. Isn't that nice? Doesn't that really make the house pop? Oh yeah, that's really nice. And here, and you don't have to talk about virtual staging. Some people do, some don't. But one I really like is, this is really cool. If you look at this, Mr. Seller, which one of these do you think is the house that's for sale? Well, they always point at the color one. Yeah, that's right. And wouldn't you want this kind of marketing for people to see your home in this type of a professional light? And they say, yes, well, I definitely do this with all of my listings. And then I say, I'm also going to do a video and a virtual tour. That's because usually most photographers will include a virtual tour, but I'm going to make sure most people want pictures, videos, and virtual tours when they're looking for houses. And I'm going to make sure I'm going to have one that's easy to find. Have you ever heard of YouTube, Mr. Seller? Oh, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, over 2 billion people a day visit YouTube, but yet only a very small percentage of realtors still even make YouTube videos for their listings. And I'm definitely going to do that. I'm going to use the professional photos and create a visually appealing virtual tour that's going to be on YouTube, but I'm also going to do some creative marketing and post on YouTube that I can use on all different types of social media, including Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And I'm going to ask you to friend me on Facebook and follow me so that you and I can make these videos go viral. Okay. So there's over 1 billion social media users using a strategic combination of posts, videos, squeeze pages, and paid organic ads. I'm going to put your home where home buyers are spending their time. And you and I know this is where everybody's spending their time, right, Mr. Seller? Oh, that's right. And don't you think your house should be there? Oh yeah. And there's I think we're up to 4 yeses already or more. Okay. So, and I'm also my next strategy is I'm going to do online classifieds such as Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace, because they're such powerful tools for generating tons of views and interested buyers. The ads I create are professionally designed to get more buyers to your listing. Anybody can do this, but not the way I'm going to do it. Your property is going to stand head and shoulders above your competition. And that's pretty cool, or that's pretty amazing, or whatever you would like to say. And I think that's powerful, don't you, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller? Yes, it is. Thank you. Now, my next strategy is I do a very unique open house. Now, most listing agents that come out are going to tell you that open houses don't work to sell houses. And you and I know that's not true, don't we, Mr. Seller or Mrs. Seller? Now, the truth is it may or may not sell the house. However, they think it does. Most sellers think that the open house is going to be what you need to do. So instead of trying to argue with them about not doing an open house and all the reasons why I don't do them, I double down on it and show them how mine is going to be different than everybody else's. This page gets a lot of attention because they've been told by other agents that they'll even tell you, my other agent didn't even want to do open houses. Oh, are you kidding? Oh my gosh. Well, I would never do, and you just kind of play that up, say, but I do a very unique open house, and these are the things that I do, and not all of it, but you can see that I spend a lot of time making sure that your open house is successful. And I think if you're going to have a house listed and have open houses, you'd want them done right, wouldn't you, Mr. Seller? Oh yeah, most definitely. And you think this is the type of marketing you would want on your home, correct? Yes. And then we move on. The phone, most agents are scared to death of the phone. One of my strategies is very simple. I'm going to call the last 5 agents who most recently participated in sales in your area. And I'm going to find out if they have other people looking to buy in this area. Plus, I'm going to call everyone, or either call or contact everyone in your neighborhood within a mile radius and let them know that your house is available. We talked about circle prospecting last night. That's what we're talking about. We're going to prospect around the neighborhood. At the same time, we're telling people about the house. We're going to be picking up leads, but we're not telling them we're doing that for leads. We're telling them we're doing it to advertise the house, because we are. And most sellers don't. And I think it's important that your neighbors know about your house so that maybe they can pick their own neighbor, right? Yeah, that's smart. Thank you. So then we move on. Number 10, strategy number 10, the consistent and helpful communication. You're going to have a weekly scheduled call with me. I'm going to set up automatic feedback from showings so that people let you know what everybody's saying. You're going to automatically receive new listings and pendings and solds when they come up in your neighborhood. And I'm going to review the pricing with you weekly and notify you of any market changes. You're going to hear from me more than you want to. I can almost guarantee you. And I think that that's really important, that an agent really communicates well with their client. Don't you, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller? And they say, oh yes, our last agent didn't do anything. Well, that's not who I am. I am definitely going to stay in communication with you. Fantastic, because I'm not your average agent. The ugly truth is that most agents employ the 3 P's of marketing. They put a sign in the front yard, they put it in the MLS, and they pray a buyer writes up an offer on it. While most of my competitors are skipping the first 10 items on this list, I'm busy making sure your property is exposed and presented to as many buyers as possible. I want you to become a raving fan as opposed to just another client. And I'm going to go above and beyond to ensure that you have the best client experience possible. My mission is to sell your home quickly for the highest price possible with minimal inconvenience to you. And I think that's what you wanted, isn't it, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller? Oh, yes, most definitely. Fantastic. Well, I have these reviews I'm going to leave with you because it's one thing for me to talk about what I do, but it's another thing that other people are talking about me. So I have some reviews here I'd like for you to look at. And this is my contact information that you can reach me anytime. And that's why I leave this with you so you can always know how to reach me. Fantastic. So now we just have to talk about pricing. So now we know, now you know what I do, right? Now we got to that point. Now we're going to talk about pricing. So that's where we get to the pricing segment of our presentation. We go to the presentation, we get 5 yeses, and then we move directly after they agree on that last page. Isn't this the type of agent you want selling your house? They say yes, great. Well, all we have to do now is go over the numbers and sign the contract. That's what we say next. Now we have to do is go over the numbers and sign the contract. We're going to open up the CMA. And the CMA is going to be very simple because we're going to say, I know what you said you wanted to sell your house for. I think that's a great range, or we're really close here. And but before we get started, we have to decide what your price is going to be, right? Before we unveil your home and do everything that I said I was going to do in this marketing packet, we have to decide what pricing strategy we're going to choose to do, right? Get you the highest possible sale for your home. Yes, most definitely. So most agents have one pricing strategy. I believe there are actually 3. You can price your home above the comps, which I call the needle in the haystack approach. You're hoping that just the right buyer comes along and falls in love with your home enough to buy it at an above market price. Or you can price it right in line with the fair market value with these comps that we have here. And in this market, it'll probably sell pretty quickly. Or for my most savvy clients, we price it just below market value to create a bidding war opportunity because when people bid and fight over your house, then you win. Of these pricing strategies, which one is better for you? Everybody's always almost going to pick the middle one, right? They're almost always going to pick the fair market value, which is where I was shooting for anyway. If they say they want to join my most savvy clients and price it just below and to create a bidding war, then that's even better. If they say they want to do the needle in the haystack, which they're not, because that's going to make them sound dumb. But if they say they want to do the needle in the haystack, I'm going to say, well, let me see if I can find another agent who would work with you, right? But that's not going to happen, right? So they're going to pick the middle or the bidding war. That's what's going to happen. So we have this conversation. This is a script you're going to use with them. We have to, before we unveil your house to the world, we have to decide on a price. And most agents have one pricing strategy. I believe there are 3. We go through the 3. Out of these 3, which one is better for you? And we let them choose. And they're going to choose usually the middle or the third one, which is fantastic. All right. So with that being said, if we sold your house for this price here, this is where you pull out your net sheet. You want a professional looking net sheet like this from the title company. The title company it'll print out just like this. It'll most cases have all the title company's information, because I want them to know that this came from a third party, so they know that not only did the CMA look awesome, but also for some reason we're getting some noise. I thought I had you guys muted. Give me 1 second. I got to figure out what's happening. We're going to do this. Can't leave you alone for 5 minutes. 1 second. All right, so then we go back to share. All right. So the net sheet, I did the CMA from, and I created the report off the MLS or off RPR, so it looked really professional. Then I get this net sheet. Don't ever use net sheets that you have to fill in yourself or anything like that from TAR or God forbid the MLS. Please don't use that. Use the one from the title companies. And then you just have to plug in the price you want to sell it for and the payoff. That's all we need. All they usually ask for is the information up here. And then we put in the sales price that we're going to propose, and we put the payoff in there. And then it's going to give us all the fees, right? So nothing is hidden. And then it's going to give us the net, the net to the seller. So what I do is before I show up, I've already circled in a big, thick red marker, right? I circle the net. And so when I've gone over that and I say, so this looks like the price that we need to sell it for. Okay, great. So when we do sell it for this price, I turn this around and I point at it. I'm not hiding anything. Don't put your hand over anything, but you want to draw their attention to what they're going to be making, because that's what matters anyway. And you say these words: after everything is said and done, this is what you're going to walk away with. Can you live with that? And they look at it, they're like, yeah, that's great. Or yeah, we think that's great. Or we think that's okay, or whatever, right? Whatever they say, that's what you have to live with. So you just turn around, point at it, and say, after everything is said and done, this is what you're going to walk away with. Can you live with that? Fantastic. And all the stuff to do now is sign the contract. Then we open up, we already have it filled in. We go over the contract. We don't have to go over it. We basically say, okay, if we're going to, then we start talking about how long we're going to list it for, right? We open up the listing agreement. It's already been filled out. We say, so we probably want to start this weekend, right? We want to get it on the market as soon as possible. So let's write this date in here. And then I'm going to put I'm probably going to put a 6 month on there to begin with. But if they don't want to, I'll do 90 days because I know the house is going to sell at this price. I'm not going to go over a price that it's not going to sell, right? So the price that we chose is going to sell quickly. So let's go ahead and just put a 90-day listing. I would rather have a 6 month, but if I can't get it, I'm not going to fight about it. So I write that in, and then I write in the price, and I say all we have to do now is sign. If you'll initial it at the bottom of every page, and then sign the last page, we'll be good to go. And then you're done with the presentation. It's very simple. I mean, it seems, if you go back through this real quick, you have, I'm just going to review the process. You have the preparation, and then you have the presentation, right? And all we did, we viewed the home, we build the rapport, we sat down in a safe, quiet place, we walked through that presentation that I just gave you. And if you noticed, the script that you would use or the things you would highlight, they're already in there. All you have to do is kind of follow the pages. And then the only thing you have to remember to do is explain it a little bit, say, and because of this is why this is going to happen and why this is good for you. Isn't that awesome? And they say, yes. You want to count the yeses in your head. And when you get to 5, you can stop highlighting and then say, well, now let's look at the numbers, right? And then you present the CMA and you do the pricing and you do the net sheet, right? You do the pricing script after everything is said and done. We'll get that in a minute, but we have to choose before we unveil everything in the presentation. We have to decide how much you're going to sell your house for. Most agents have one pricing strategy. I believe there's 3, and this is what they are. Which one do you want? Then we say, great, because the CMA says we should sell it for this. And I know that's right in line with what you said you wanted to sell it for. And after everything is said and done, I point to the red circle. This is what you're going to walk away with. Can you live with that? Fantastic. Then all that's left to do is sign the listing agreement. And then they're like, okay. And if you have to do it in a flow, right? You have to flow with it and never stop to ask them, is it okay if we move to the next step? Do you want to go ahead and sign the listing agreement? Do you want to get this started? Don't do that, right? We are not doing that. Sign the listing agreement. So it says we're going to sign the listing agreement. There's nothing left to do but sign the contract. There's your words, right? This is right after the net sheet. After everything is said and done, again, I'm saying that over and over so you'll get it in your brain, right? After everything is said and done, this is what you're going to walk away with. Is that something you live with? Fantastic. Okay, great. Then all that's left to do, there's nothing left to do but sign the contract. And you pull out the contract. You start writing in the term and the price. We know what price now, and now we're going to let them. They're going to start thinking, right? They're going to start thinking, well, this is all going pretty fast. What? Then they're going to start asking questions, right? And it doesn't feel as fast as what I'm going through because I'm going through it kind of quickly. But with them, they're going to go, it sounds good and everything looks good. They think you're great because they just said they love you 5 times. They said this is awesome 5 to 7 times, and they agreed with you that you're the best. And then you tell them we're going to sign the contract, and they're okay. But then they start thinking, when they start looking at the contract, they're okay with the first page, and then you get to the part where it says 6% commission. Now, normally, if you've done this right, if you've done this through the whole thing, there's not any objections. No one should have an objection. But everybody, when they see the commission part, they might get a little shaky, and they might say, well, is this correct? 6% commission? That seems like a lot. And then that's when you say, well, that was already included in the net sheet. Remember, I told you after everything was said and done that was what you're going to walk away with. That's included in there, and that the commission for the buyer and the sell side are included in that net sheet. Oh, okay. So they already agreed that they were okay with the net sheet. They don't have an objection. But if you don't do this correctly, you're going to have to sit there and justify your commission. I'm not going to justify my commission. My commission was justified in my presentation and on my demeanor, in my building rapport. Then I showed them everything I was going to do, and I did the CMA and the net sheet the correct way. And then I said, after everything was said and done, this is what you're going to walk away with, and that was already included. Oh, okay. Well, would you discount this at all? They always have to ask. A lot of them will say, I just had to ask, ha, ha, ha. So all you have to do is this. This is the best way to do it. Well, I told you after everything was said and done, that would be that you would walk away with that the commission is included in that. Oh, okay. Well, will you discount your commission? You look at them and you go, no. And then any other questions? Basically, you don't have to justify why you're not discounting your commission. You smile, you laugh a little bit, and you say, no. Do you have any other questions for me? And then if they want to push the commission thing, we'll deal with that. But usually, I'm telling you, when you go through this the right way and you've built the value in yourself, in the company, in the self, and everything you're going to do, there's no reason for them to discount the commission, especially they already agreed that the net sheet was all right? If they say something like, well, other agents are going to discount their commission, the very best objection handler you can use is that, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, the most important skill that an agent can bring to a seller is the ability to be a strong negotiator, to ensure that you get top dollar for your home. You can even mention in this market is so crazy right now. You need a strong, stable negotiator to help make sure that you get top dollar for your home. If an agent discounts his own commission right off the bat, what in the world is he going to do with your price? And then you just stare at them until they go, yeah, I guess you're right. And then you just keep moving. You're moving forward as if it was impossible to fail. You're not moving forward ready to quit or ready to explain it, because we're not explaining ourselves. This is just the way it is. When you go to HEB and you put a gallon of milk on the cash register and they boop, that'll be $4 or whatever. And they say, hey, do you think I can get that for $2.50? They're going to laugh at you, right? Are you serious? That's the way I'm doing it. I have one price. You're lucky I didn't charge you 7%. How about that? But I'm giving you a great price, 6%, and it's not negotiable. I'm not going to negotiate my commission. And by this point, I don't have to, because it's a moot point, because if you did this right all the way through, they're not even going to care. They might ask you to discount it just because they feel like they have to. And all you have to do is say no. And then that's all there is to it. And they're still going to sign the listing agreement with you because you're awesome, right? Because you did everything correct. And there's no reason not to. So I'm going to stop here for a minute to see what time it is. Boom, boom, boom. Almost 7:30, man, right on schedule. Let me stop this and let's ask if you guys have any questions. I'm going to go. Now we've got our we've got down to where we've gotten the listing agreement signed, right? But let's talk a little bit before about how to market the listing. Right now, we are in a really unique situation where we don't have to do a lot to market listings. The truth is, you never really have to do anything to market listings. You put on the MLS, put a sign in the front yard is probably going to sell, right? The reason we do the marketing is to create raving fans. Okay. We are trying to build referrals by getting the listing. We're going to make our money. We're going to get it sold. We know what it takes to get a house sold. It's going to get sold by pricing it right and putting it on the MLS. That's the number one thing. If people think there's anything else magic to it, there's not. I mean, it might be making it look a little better, staging a little better here, but it's really very simple. But if we do the right things, then we're going to get our sellers to love us from now on, right? And give us referrals, repeat business and referrals. So let's talk a little bit about marketing. The truth is, talking about the truth, that's why we're going to go into, is what clients never want to hear and what other agents choose to ignore, right? The truth is that overpriced homes do not sell. Now, there's a caveat right now, because the houses may sell for more than they're going for. I mean, than you've listed for. But you don't want to go in assuming that. I mean, I know right now that if I put a house on the market, that I'm probably going to get multiple offers, and hopefully it'll sell and it'll appraise for what it's selling for over asking. That's probably what's happening. But I don't want to, there's a reason homes still expire. And the reason they expire because they're overpriced due to their condition or their disposition or location or whatever. They're not selling because they're not priced right. So we just delay the inevitable by not pricing the house right. We have to price it right. Location is the only way we can solve a location issue is by lowering the price. The only way we can solve an issue for condition is either spend the money to fix the issue or adjust the price to compensate for the money that we're going to spend to fix the house. It all comes down to price. Updating a home does not increase the value over the comps. Upgrading a home does not add more value if all the homes in the area are already upgraded. The numbers don't lie. Appraisals are based on current sales. If you don't price your house right, it's not going to sell. Seller perception is time, as the money and time invested they put into the house should be recouped. The reality is there's really nothing special that every other seller isn't doing before they sell their house normally. Now, if they had a Brady Bunch house and they finally brought it back up to 2021 standards, then it probably cost them a lot of money, but they're not going to get that money back in price, right? So the buyer's perception is that the longer a home is on the market, it means there must be something wrong with it. And the reality is that it's a great house, but it languished on the market because it was overpriced. A seller will tell you if people really want it, they'll make an offer. That's what they'll tell you. Well, I know it's overpriced, but if they want it, just tell them to make an offer and we'll look at it. But the reality is buyers overlook the properties they think are overpriced. And again, we're lucky right now in this market, in some places are not, but again, we don't want to take that chance. Buyer perception is when the property sits on the market for a long time, that they have the permission to lowball. The reality is that the seller and the agent created a no-win scenario by overpricing the property to begin with. And we already have a frustrated seller that just gets angry when people send in low offers. The big lie that is the seller perception is even though the home is overpriced, it will eventually sell for this price. It's worth it, and the agent just needs to market it better. But the truth is no amount of marketing can overcome bad pricing. And that's where we're coming from. You have to have the price right? If you remember, I watched this show many times when I skipped school for no reason or played hooky. And I was on the couch watching The Price is Right. Love this house, love this. But you have to remember before marketing, you got to get the price right. And when sellers ever ask, why is this house not selling? Why did my home expire? Or I'm just not getting any offers or showings. Then you just I think about a line from my favorite movie, that the price is wrong, right? So we're never going to create raving fans by not doing a professional job. Never let the seller tell you, well, I know it's this price, but I want it at this price. And never let the market tell you that there's a good chance that you can get it this price. Price it the way you think it should be priced, and then let the market give you the multiple offers. Okay, because to create raving fans, you have to stand out. Why use you when you're just like everybody else, right? Why would somebody use you? And that's what we did through that whole presentation. We stood out. We're standing out. And unfortunately, I can always tell by the attitudes of people and the things that I hear, and that nobody even really listens to my process. They just think about their issue because they're going to do things their own way anyway, right? Thankfully, that I never thought I was smarter than anybody else. I wanted to learn the right way to do stuff, and I would always follow exactly step by step what somebody told me. And I realized by doing that, that I not only was I professional and it was working almost every time, but that I was creating fans and people who liked me and doing the right things. And I never had to avoid talking to a seller or avoid phone calls because things were going well. And how can you ask for full commission or even more than full commission if you're doing exactly what everybody else is doing? That's a question you have to ask. I have to stand out from everybody else and show them that I'm different, or I can't ask for 6%. But the reason I can ask for 6% or more, I would ask for 7. I would always ask for 7. I would put on my presentation, I would say, you can, based on your motivation, you can pick one of these three percentages. It's 6, 7, or 8. And most of the time they would circle 7 because I feel like I'm worth more than 3%. And I believe I sell myself to where I'm worth more than 3%. And even the people who paid 7% or more, they wind up liking me even better, right? So because they understand value. So how can you own mind space in somebody's mind when you're forgettable? You're never going to build referral business if you don't stand out. And that's what marketing is, a listing is all about. Again, the price is going to sell it. The price is going to sell your property, and the market's going to sell your property as long as you're not doing something stupid, right? And as long as you're presenting offers, and as long as you're doing the things you're supposed to be doing and communicating, that house is going to sell. It's the price that's always in the way. But we want to create raving fans and get referrals for the rest of our lives. We always do what we say we're going to do. Sometimes we do more, but nevertheless, we communicate more than we need to, because that's a big problem with agents. They don't communicate with their sellers. Let them see your hard work. And this is, again, when you're marketing a property, it's basically selling itself in a lot of ways, but you have to let them see your hard work and consistent effort so they know that so you have something to talk about, so they can brag on you. They can say, oh my gosh, can you believe my agent did this? You always under promise and over deliver. We go through our presentation and then we give them a little bit more, right? And we're always a problem solver. We never bring a problem to our seller without a solution, right? If there's a problem and we know about it, we have to be vanilla ice, right? If there's a problem, we'll solve it, right? We have to go and get it and look at it and then go get the solution and bring it to our client. A lot of times we can solve the problems before they come up, and we'll tell about it later, and people like that even better, right? And we want to sell the home quickly, or at least as quickly as others in the area. And the only way you're going to sell your house quickly, or at least as quickly as the others in the area, is price it at or below the comps. Now it might sell for $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 over the listing price if a bidding war ensues, right? But I'm not going to start there. I'm going to start at or below the comps, because that means that ensures that my house is going to sell quickly. Okay. And that I always follow up after the sale and provide stellar customer service in order to create raving fans, right? Again, we talked about this, setting up this conversation, the price. So we don't have to go through this again, but we always want to make sure we price the house right, because when a home is priced right, that's when the marketing matters. Your client has to see what you're doing. Okay. You can go and you can do all these cool things and things that are happening, but if your client doesn't see it, they don't know what's going on. So we're going to go through this real quick, and I'm going to show you what you need to do to make sure that your client sees it. The purpose of our aggressive, unique marketing plan is so we have happy sellers, create referrals, earn, in big bold letters, earn your commission, generate leads for yourself or for the people you're going to refer them out to, and supplement the sales process. So let's just talk about this. Here's a smart marketing action plan. First, you're going to use your presentation that you just went over as your checklist. You set expectations that you're going to be rolling out the marketing, and it takes 48 to 72 hours. You have to let them know after it's all said and done, you have ink on paper and you've had some more conversations. Then you say, okay, this marketing is going to start, but it might not all kick in until a day or two. We're going to get in the MLS as soon as possible. We're going to get pictures out here, and then we're going to get the MLS, but everything else might take 2-3 days or longer. So then when we get in the MLS, we send them that link. We send them an email saying, here's this link. I think it looks great. If you notice the description is highly descriptive, I think it looks good, and ask them what they think about it. Send them out that link, right? And then a day or two later, if it hasn't sold, obviously, but you send them the realtor.com link, realtor.com and the Zillow link, whatever, just the ones that they're going to be looking at, because they're going to want to see that their house is on Zillow and on realtor.com, because that's what everybody wants to see. Pull the link before they call and say, hey, my house isn't on here. Send them the link and then say, I think it looks great, don't you? And they will. And then you can always send them copies of the photos and extra photos that you have. And then then when you have your virtual tour, send them a link to the virtual tour. Once you do a video, you do that, but don't do all this in one day. You've got to spread this out over the course of 3-4 days, right? Because, but you're sending it to them, and every time you create something, you send it to them and say, this is pretty cool. I think this is great. I think it's going to help get your house noticed. What do you think? And then they give you feedback, right? Because that way, because if you do everything within, like all this stuff can be done in a day, right? You go put it on the MLS and wait for everything to update. And then you get your picture. You already have your pictures. You do your YouTube link or whatever and your squeeze page. And then you can send it all in one email, which is not smart. You send them all spread out so that they go, wow, this agent is really doing a lot of stuff. But if you do it all in one time, tomorrow they're going to say, hey, I saw what you sent me yesterday. What are you doing today? What did you do today what have you done for me lately? If you remember that song, right? It's again, old reference. Okay. So smart marketing action plan part 2, we're going to set up auto feedback so that they're getting feedback when someone goes to the house. We're going to schedule the open house immediately. Even if we think that house is going to sell, we want to tell them, we already told them we're going to do an open house. So we're going to get that started. We're going to do flyers. They're going to take full color flyers to the house in the first day or two. We're going to send our social media posts. We're going to send copies of our Craigslist ad that we created, and we're going to start our weekly call, right? So hopefully the house sells quickly, but if it sits out there for 2-3 weeks or whatever, we probably spent a couple of hours or whatever getting all of this together, and then we spread it out, sending it out to our client over the course of about a week or a little longer, so that they're hearing from us every day, and they're seeing all this different marketing that we're doing, because it's not as easy as it looks, or we don't want it to seem like it's easy as it looks, right? So with that being said, you just have to make sure that you're doing the right things. Now, a single property website is very easy to do. I said earlier, you use your KV Core squeeze page. You go to GoDaddy is what I always use, because I always go to Retail Me Not, and I look up a coupon for GoDaddy, and I use that. Usually get one for like $2.99. Then I use my Just Listed script, because I'm going to go out and I'm going to do what I said I was going to do and tell the neighbors about the listing. I'm going to hire a professional photographer. I'm going to have a yard sign that stands out from everybody else. I like the ones that are the colonial style, that look like an upside down L, right? With that you can see from the satellite, because I like people to see the house. I don't like it to drive up and look for houses for sale. Like, oh no, that's not a house. That's a roofing job happening. I want to know that it's a sign. And I even tell people my sign's going to stand out from everybody else's. I get a lot of nice open house signs. I hope you already have some made, but if not, go get some made so that you stand out when you're out there. And if you haven't already set up a YouTube channel, you should set up a YouTube channel so that you can put your videos. Any videos that you have, you need a place to park them. And this is the way it goes. If you don't have a distribution list, we talked about this already. What is a distribution list? It's all of your database, right? All of your database should be in a distribution list that you could email all your database at one time, and send them all of your open houses, any new listings that you have. So you can, because when you tell your client, I'm going to send your listing to all of my database. I have thousands of people in my database, and they're all going to know that your house is for sale. The reason I send stuff out to my database is, number one, I want to get attention to the house, but every time I send an email, I have a good reason to send an email to my database. I'm reminding them that I'm in real estate and I'm asking for referrals without even asking for it. So if you don't want to use email for this, there's things that you could purchase or get for free. I use Constant Contact because I used to use MailChimp. It was free, but I didn't like it very much. It's easy enough, but but I like the look of Constant Contact better. So I use Constant Contact for my email distribution list, but you can use whatever you want to. You can even use straight email, right? But these are these 3 pages, 1, 2, and 3, right? This is going to help you know what to do and when to do it and what to do, and make sure that you're spreading it out. And this is just tools of the trade, how to get what we need, right? To make that make this progressive marketing strategy happen. So with that said, that is the end of my presentation for tonight. I'm going to open it up for more questions. Let me see what time it is. It's only 7:55. So if you have any questions, I am ready to answer.
Rick, I have a question.
Sure.
It's Boots Weichert. I think
Hey,
my
Boots.
video is off.
And I see your name.
Okay. When you do the GoDaddy page, do you capture somehow everyone that looks at that? Is there a way to capture
If
those
you're
names?
yeah, because you're doing a KV Core squeeze page, and you're pointing the GoDaddy URL to that page, and KV Core is set up to capture leads.
Oh, okay. So it's just going to go back to KV Core. Great.
Yeah, it's going to capture. You go to your KV Core, do a property squeeze page for that MLS number,
Sure.
right? And then point the cheap GoDaddy URL that you have that says 123happyhollow.com.net to that page.
Okay, gotcha.
And that's just,
Thanks.
and all you're doing there is just fulfilling your promise of doing a single property website. But what you're really doing is setting up a lead capture.
Yeah, that's great. Great idea. I'm going to do that.
If you guys noticed, everything I promised my client I was going to do has another side to the coin. It generates leads for me.
Yeah, great.
Hey, Rick, I have a question.
Sure.